We'll be diving into how the TXShare cooperative contracts, available on the Civic Marketplace platform, helps governments and agencies of all sizes improve procurement, making it more efficient, more inclusive, and ultimately more effective for the communities they serve. Over the next 30 minutes, you'll hear how the Town of Fairview leveraged an advanced metering infrastructure contract, or AMI, to modernize water infrastructure for residents. A couple of quick notes before we begin. Today's session runs 30 minutes with a special Q&A session up to 15 minutes at the end. If you have any questions or you want to just chat with us, please use the chat or Q&A box to share questions at any time. We'll gather them and cover as many as we can toward the end of our time. Don't worry if you miss anything. We're recording and we'll share the replay afterwards. We're thrilled to have joining us today Julie Couch, Town Manager of Fairview. Julie has over 40 years of experience in local government and has been leading the Town of Fairview since 2012, leading cross-department initiatives to modernize infrastructure and elevate resident engagement. Hi, Julie.
Hi, good to be here.
Also joining us is Diane Palmerbeck. Diane is a public procurement leader with 30 plus years experience building and running high-stakes sourcing operations for local government. Hi, Diane. How are you?
I'm doing great. Happy to be here.
Thank you so much for being here. We're really excited about this webinar. So let's get started. Julie, we'll start this conversation from your seat as the town manager of Fairview and the challenges you faced from the AMI side. Before you had this AMI contract, what problems were you trying to solve? And what wasn't working with your meters or billing process?
So first, let me describe a little bit about Fairview. So we are a town of 11,000, and we are located in Collin County, which is one of the fastest growing counties in the country, Collin County, Texas. We are bounded by very large cities around us. While we have a population of about 11,000, the county to the north of us has 225,000 in population, and the city of Allen to the south of us has over 100,000 in population. We have approximately 89 authorized positions. Of those, the majority of them are in public safety, police, fire, EMS, and public works. One of the things that we don't have in Fairview is centralized purchasing. Each of our department heads are required to do their own internal purchasing, which is generally not a problem. They are able to acquire what they need to do what they need to do. Where it becomes challenging is when we are looking at a more complicated acquisition that involves multiple departments, involves multiple systems. It becomes a challenge for a small department to put together a request for proposal or a bidding document to acquire those types of systems. One of the reasons that or the primary reason really that we wanted to acquire an AMI system is that it provides an opportunity for great customer service. We currently, as I mentioned, have 11,000 people. We have many residents that have homes on lots that are 1 acre or larger, and they like to landscape those lots. It is not uncommon for us to have billing on a monthly basis of utility billing that's over $1,000 a month. And that generates a series of questions from residents. We hear often, I couldn't possibly have used that much water. So we need to have access to good data. We need to have information that's available for our residents so they can understand what the billing is about and how they did in fact use that water. And we would also like them to be able to monitor their own usage as well. That was one of the primary drivers for us in looking at an AMI system. Our current system is not set up to allow us to generate any of that kind of data on a regular basis, and we want to be able to answer the questions that our residents have. And so that was what precipitated us moving forward with an AMI system.
Thank you for that insight, Julie. Now, are you able to provide some background on the thought process that led your organization to approach TXShare? What motivated that, and how did that process happen?
Well, it was a very interesting process for us. Remember that we don't have a dedicated procurement staff. We had gotten to the point that we were ready to move forward with an AMI project. We had the funding available, we had council support, so we were ready to move forward with the development of a proposal. We first started with a team, an internal team consisting of myself, my public works manager, and my CFO. We obtained copies of other requests for proposals for an AMI system, and we very quickly learned that these were very complicated systems. We were very concerned that we didn't have the time, frankly, or the expertise to pull a very complicated RFP together that was going to be cross-departmental and involve a number of systems. I happened to be at a meeting several months after we started the process, and it was a meeting that was established for Civic Marketplace. And Ron Hollifield, who started that program, was the speaker at that program. And the purpose was to talk about collaborative purchasing. As we began those discussions, I mentioned my concerns and issues with developing an RFP for our AMI system. And as we talked, we determined that this would be a very good project on a collaborative basis, in which we could partner not only with Civic Marketplace, but also with TXShare, with the Council of Governments. That process was kicked off, and that was the beginning of our relationship with TXShare on the development of the AMI meter services program.
Thank you for that, Julie. Understanding that background is really helpful to set the stage for this webinar today. With that, let's transition to Diane for some insight into the TXShare process. Diane, once Julie and Fairview defined the need, NCT COG stepped in to structure the procurement. Can you walk us through how TXShare supported Fairview during the RFP process?
Absolutely, I'd love to. So this is one of the reasons I got involved with TXShare, is because it's all about the collaboration. We all lean on each other. We're all doing such similar things. So we take those needs forward to try to benefit all of our membership, if not all, at least a portion of the membership. So for us, it was about that collaboration, as Jory mentioned, and deciding internally who was going to take the lead on the RFP process. TXShare is very fortunate that we have two very seasoned purchasing agents who are retired from having run their own procurement departments here in various cities in Texas. So a lot of experience came to the table. So we said, okay, who's going to work this process? So we bring those folks to the table, and we decided on who would do that. And then this was Lisa Luttrell handled this process for us. Lisa and I actually went out and met in person with Julie, the finance director, and the public works director, to sit down, talk through, hey, what are you trying to accomplish? Just what Julie has already shared, what their end result needed to look like and why. Also, what's the timetable look like? Everybody always says, oh, how long is this going to take to get done? So we wanted to understand the timetable. But in order to facilitate that discussion, we wanted to come to the table prepared with some ideas based on our research and knowledge of the industry. So Lisa and I created a draft statement of work based on the challenge RFP process that TXShare does when we do procurements on behalf of our membership or potential membership. So we had that so that we would have something tangible to react to. What works for you? What were you thinking? Did we miss something? Had you considered this? Then from there, we take that information after that collaboration, and we invite the rest of the TXShare membership. An email goes out to the membership to say, We've had a member identify this need. We are looking forward to going forward with an RFP process. Does anybody want to be involved? And in this case, we had about 14 entities reach out and say, either we want to be involved because we are in the process of doing our own and now we don't have to, or we don't want to do our own. And what was really great too is we had a couple of entities that said, we did this in the last 2 years. If you'd like, we'd be happy to share kind of what our problems were, what our pitfalls were, so that you don't recreate maybe some of the same issues. So we had that initial meeting, which was fantastic. We had great feedback. And then from there, Lisa was able to run that entire procurement process on behalf of the members. Oftentimes members, we look to our members to sit on the evaluation teams for the process. So they would have reviewed the specs, then they part of that evaluation process, but TXShare runs the whole process as though we are just an extension. We're a department in your entity. So that's how we like to explain it to folks, is that we're just an extension of your team is who we are and how we handle that.
Wow.
So that was our process. Yeah.
I really appreciate that community type dynamic through this process. It's not just a cooperative that's doing this exclusive of participation from our membership. It's that community aspect that's bringing everyone together. So everyone has a seat at the table. They get to participate in the solicitation that meets their needs, but the needs of the entire community. That's really exciting, and that's not something that I see from a lot of other cooperatives. So, Diane, for everyone listening who's thinking, this sounds exactly like our situation, what are the concrete steps to start using this TXShare AMI contract right away? Are you able to outline what cities need to do to access this or any of the other TXShare contracts?
Absolutely. So there's two roads, depending if you are on the webinar today and you're already a member, hello, and welcome back. If you're not a member, hello, and welcome aboard. So there's two avenues. The one commonality, though, between those two roads is our contracts are on the TXShare website. They are outward facing. So you can see those awarded contracts, the companies they've been awarded to, the RFP solicitation document, the awarded documents, whether you're a member or not. The key becomes utilizing those contracts. You need to have an interlocal agreement. Those of you that, if everybody's from Texas, you're familiar with the ILAs. The great thing about that is TXShare gets those turned around very quickly. So you can become a member just as quickly as you can get one of those executed. And those that are already members that have an interest, they can already just jump right in, start looking at those contracts. They can go straight to one of the awarded companies. They can use the Civic Marketplace platform and compete and do a bake-off amongst those companies. It's whatever fits for their needs. So it's really either one of those paths, but you can start by going to TXShare.org. And the available contracts tab will take you into everything. There's a search engine. It will take you into all of the current contracts that are available for you to use. If you go and you look for something and don't find what you need, say, hey, I'm looking for this and it's not there, you just reach right out to me or anybody else on the TXShare team, and we will do the same process for you and those discussions that we did with Julie and her team.
Thank you, Diane, for that background and next up opportunities for either current or future members. Julie, transitioning back to you. For context, can you walk us through where things stand currently? Thinking contract award timing, the decision to run a pilot first, testing communications, any installation issues, and testing the communications between the systems?
I can. As Diane mentioned, in terms of TXShare putting together the RFP with input from all of the other agencies, including ours, it really did feel like we were part of the team in putting that whole process together. It was a really great exercise in getting that done. Our public works manager, again, as Diane mentioned, along with other representatives from other cities, participated in the evaluation process. They were able to look at all of the vendors who had submitted proposals, make sure which ones were in compliance with the request, and they selected a number of vendors that are approved as part of the contract. Once that was completed, we then had the opportunity to move ahead and award a contract, which we did. We do have a vendor that is now in place and putting in our system. We are very excited about where this is going to go for us. When we began putting the program together, we knew we wanted to implement a pilot program first. There are two things that you don't mess with residents. You don't mess with their water service, and you don't mess with their garbage service. So we wanted to be sure that if we were going to put this new system in, that we weren't going to run into complications citywide. So we selected one neighborhood of about 125 meters as our pilot project. We have now installed the meters in that neighborhood. They all do have access to the online app that gives them the ability to look at their own usage. They can now monitor what they're doing and to some extent answer their questions without having to call town staff to get information. It's a voluntary thing for residents to do that. Of the 125 residents that are now in place, 25% of them have now logged on to the app. That's just within just a few weeks. So we think our residents are going to be extremely excited about being able to do this. We are in the process now with the system that we have in place. We have run one cycle of utility billing in that neighborhood to see if it works right. And so far so good. We really haven't run into any hitches with it. We're going to run another system. Another water billing cycle with them before we move forward with the rest of the town. But we anticipate that we'll have the town implementation done probably by the first of the year. So we are not experiencing any kinds of issues or problems at this point. We're very pleased with that.
Well, obviously, that's really great to hear, Julie. I wouldn't want to have a webinar where you come on and talk about how to. So.
No, that would not be successful.
All right. Well, we're almost coming to an end of this section. Diane, one of the powerful takeaways here is that a smaller town like Fairview was able to use the TXShare cooperative platform to attract top-tier AMI suppliers, something that's tough to do alone. Can you talk about how cooperative purchasing gives smaller and mid-sized communities the same leverage as a big city, and how that now makes it possible for any other municipality on this call to piggyback or leverage off Fairview's need and get those same advantages immediately?
Absolutely. So there were really two needs that Fairview identified. One was the need for this contract and the need for service delivery to the citizens. That was first and foremost, right? And then secondly was, okay, how do we make this happen? We don't have a centralized in-house procurement staff. So what are our options? And fortunately, TXShare is there to offer up that option. So for small, medium-sized cities, but I'll say we do the same thing for large cities. We've had some very large cities, 300,000 that came to us, population that said, hey, we have a need. We have a procurement team. We're swamped. We don't have time to get to it. We know how to do it, but we don't have time to do it. So we can leverage from, top down and bottom up, regardless of the size of the entity, the TXShare program and team to help get those needs met. So working on getting that need met is the process we've already described as to, getting the needs identified. Well, what that does bring, especially for some of those smaller entities, and when we bring in as many entities as we had involved for the meter program, we let in our scope of work that we let them know, our vendor community, hey, we've got a handful of entities. Sometimes we'll give them those entity names. Other times we'll say we've got 12 that are interested. So giving them that information so that hey, we want to participate in this. Entities that might overlook a smaller contract, right? They might say, we'd love to have that business with Fairview, but we've got these bigger fish over here, right? So they get overlooked. So this brings everybody, kind of puts them more on a level playing field, which is the beauty of what co-ops do, right? They streamline the procurement process. They certainly make it easier. They make it more accessible, but not just for our member entities to access contracts, but for our contractors to access our member entities as well. So it's a real two-way street to make that happen. So once those contracts were in place, that gave Julie and her team the leverage that a larger city might have. You've already been awarded. You don't have to go through that front end piece. So now we're just as big as everybody else, and we're just a big fish in the pond, so to speak, so that they can start those conversations and keep their processes moving forward. So I think that at the end of the day, it's about making decisions smarter. And co-ops are certainly a big answer to that. And I'd say NCT Cog TXShare program is an integral part of that conversation when it comes to cooperative purchasing, because we are just a little bit different than some of the others in how we do work with our end users ahead of time to identify those needs together. So it's really about working together. I said it earlier, but it's really about us. We are now an extension of your staff. What can we do for you? And anybody can come in and take advantage of this, regardless of the size of your entity. We are happy to be there for you as a resource.
Thank you, Diane. That's really powerful. And thank you so much to both Diane and Julie. This has been a real insight into Fairview's AMI journey and how TXShare helps cities of any size move faster, stay compliant, and get that big city leverage. Thank you all for watching, and now it's over to you for your questions. Okay, so this is for Julie. Julie, once the contract was awarded and implementation began, what were the first measurable results you saw? Are you able to share examples, whether it was leak detection, billing accuracy, fewer truck rolls, or faster installs that proved to your team and council that this was the right move?
So as I mentioned, we're just now in the pilot program process. So we're still early. It's still early days
Okay.
in terms of what's what the ultimate system is going to look like. But we're very optimistic that it is going to meet our needs. I think I also mentioned that we've had a number of residents who have already signed on to the app. And again, one of the beauties of this system is not only can we provide information that's important to residents when they ask us, we've got access to it today. Residents can get that information themselves, which is a huge impact in terms of them being able to evaluate where they stand on water usage, and they can set their own alerts. They can identify how much water they want to be able to use before they get an alert sent to them that maybe they could monitor their volumes, which from a conservation standpoint is actually very good. And so we anticipate that we're going to see a number of those impacts as we fully implement the system. But it's very promising to me that already, even with the pilot program, we're able to see the results of the information that we can get access to and that our residents can get access and are getting access to it. So we're very optimistic that this is going to be it's going to meet the needs that we anticipated it would meet. So we're very excited about that.
Well, I like that, Julie, because it really puts a lot more power in the hands of the citizens. They have more control over some of those key pieces that you were talking about, being able to monitor and make more choices that really fit their own needs. So I really like that aspect of this.
Yeah, we are very excited about what the future will hold in terms of utility billing for us.
Oh, for sure. Okay, so here's another one. This is for Diane. Diane, can you outline the key milestones, typical bottlenecks to avoid, and how cities can use cooperative contracts to accelerate delivery while aligning funding?
So the first thing you have to do to make sure you avoid any bottlenecks, you have two things. You have to understand what you're solving for, and you have to have the right people at the table. And oftentimes that's so difficult to do with any entity, any size entity, because everybody is trying to do so much, right? So by proposing, as we did with Fairview, we we gave them a general scope of work to start with. They didn't have to reinvent the wheel. We were able to do some research on their behalf and say, okay, this is a draft blueprint of what this could look like. We're not here to tell you what it's going to look like. That's what you're going to ultimately tell us as that end user. But taking a look and making sure you've got the right people at the table initially. And oftentimes, if you tell them, "Hey, we're gonna do an RFP through the co-op," they might come to the table just a little bit faster too. Oftentimes, they're in the background trying to figure out how can I get this done without really going through a full process, because those processes can actually take 9 to 12 months to go through if you're going to build it from scratch on your own. So the advantage of going through a co-op with a contract that's already in place, you go straight to looking at scope of work for yourself and your own deliverables and negotiations. If you need to do the interim step where you have the TXShare team do the process for you, we're going to help streamline that. And we don't have all of the other things going on in our world that everybody else does. We are dedicated just to that procurement function for that project that we say we're ready to move forward with. So I think that that's a big part of it. Trying to attract, as a smaller entity that we touched on already, trying to attract and get those other companies, those large companies, to take an interest. So you've got to have those pre-proposal meetings, and you have to have the outreach. Please join us. We really want your business. We want you to want our business. So you don't have to worry about that piece either. That sourcing piece that can take quite a bit of time as well. Contracts are ready to use, so you are ready to rock and roll with just about everything. As soon as you have identified your need, get your stakeholders in the ring. So it's really about aligning your needs with your timeline as well, and then bringing in other entities to help us make the best decisions. Again, there's no need to reinvent the wheel. We can all work together to come to a solution that meets the goals for everybody.
Yeah, I really like that, Diane. Thank you for that background. So it looks like the last question we have is this is for Julie. So, Julie, looking back now, if you were advising another city or utility that's considering a cooperative purchasing program similar to your process, what's the one lesson or piece of advice that you'd share with them?
I think the main advice is to really think about what your time demands are and what your expertise demands are. As we began our process, we spent quite a bit of time internally evaluating other RFPs, determining whether or not we thought we could. We spent actually too much time evaluating whether or not we would have the ability to put that type of an RFP together and be successful with that. I would encourage other cities to look at cooperative approaches similar to what we went through, because it really created the opportunity for us to take advantage of the expertise, for example, that TXShare had with their staff. They really did serve, I think, in this instance, as our purchasing group, and they were able to get from us what we needed out of the RFP and translate that into an effective document. And then that allowed us to take advantage of the purchasing power of a larger collaborative effort to make sure that we're going to be getting the best pricing and the best vendors for that type of work. And in this case, it truly proved to be that. Where I think you need to, as an evaluator, look at all your options and really take advantage of what may be out there on a cooperative basis.
Well, those are all the questions we have. Huge thank you to both Diane and Julie. Thank you both very much. I think we all agree this session has shown how collaboration turns complex procurement into real, meaningful impacts. And thank you to you, our audience, for joining. The recording will be shared shortly. See you next time.